Well, greetings again from the Beaver Valley Lutheran Kitchen, a midweek devotion here as we near the end of the season of Easter. But I want to look back. I want to look back a couple of weeks to a reading that was shared around the world on the fourth Sunday of Easter, Psalm 23. We know the poetry, don't we? We could probably all recite it, most of it at least, by heart. But let's look at the theology. Let's look at what we learn about living a life of faith, even in the dark times. Two articles from our wonderful magazine, Living Lutheran, are going to help us have a few thoughts together today. This is the May issue of Living Lutheran, and the first article I turn to is a brief article written by Pastor Tiffany Cheney. She serves Gathered by Grace Lutheran in Montgomery, Alabama. She writes, "The texts for the fourth Sunday of Easter include Psalm 23, which brings many of us feelings of nostalgia and comfort. It's tempting to focus only on the desirable images from this psalm, green pastures, still waters, soul restoration, goodness and mercy, but we must also mind the valley. The psalmist didn't say that he walked around the valley of the shadow of death, or that the valley disappeared, or that he turned and went the other way. The psalmist said, 'Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.'" She continues, "The Lord has promised to be with us in the valley. This isn't a promise to let us circumvent, erase, or ignore our problems. It's a promise that when we go through challenges in our lives, God will be with us." Now, with that as the backdrop, let's turn to a second article entitled "The Poet Pastor." This is an article about a poem written by Pastor Larry Morris, former pastor of Holy Spirit Lutheran Church in Kirkland, Washington. The title of this poem is "The Impossible Ask." Just see if in this poem there isn't the dark valley, but also that kind of hope that's there for us as people of faith, that beyond the dark valley, there is a banquet table. The poem is entitled "The Impossible Ask." Grief drives us to ask for the impossible, for the world to stop, for time to stop, for answers to every single question, for healing without pain, for our loved ones to come back from the dead. Those asks are all impossible on some level, but ask anyway. Some of them are silly on some level, but ask anyway. Our hearts need to speak and to cry out and to demand and to be heard. Someday we will again find the ground and a light and a path and a hope. Till then, let those of us who grieve ask for what we need. And may grace sit with us and hear us and sigh deeply with us until that someday comes. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Dark valleys. We all know about fear right now. We all know about a loss of dreams, an unsettled feeling that's just there kind of all the time. When are things going to get back to normal? When do we get out of this valley? It made me stop and think for my own self. What is it that we hold on to? Well, I think perhaps the greatest gift we're given in our baptism is that we are connected to Christ. That no matter what we go through, we are carried, we are connected to this life and death story and resurrection and an Easter to come. Our limitations are exposed in this psalm to admit that there are things that will haunt us and things that will be more than we can handle as part of life. Cheney has it just right. She really does. The psalm does not say that we can avoid the valley. That's simply part of being human. So, human limitation says, I don't understand. I don't like what I'm going through. Human ability, always the ability to ask, even if it seems silly, even if it seems impossible, to ask, knowing that today will be carried to a tomorrow. And someday, that perfect day. Streams stilled, green pastures, and yes, a banquet table. God bless you as you continue your journey through these days and your journey through this Easter season.